I love it when we stay somewhere long enough so I can read real books, actual books, because I hate reading books online on this thing or even on my phone, but during a nomad life, that's what I do. I mean, for sure, I'm not gonna haul around books with me. So we were doing trusted house sitters in Singapore. Here is the video about the community. We were taking care of a dog, Lucky, and a cat, Vasily, for 6 weeks. From June 21st until August 2nd, 2025. Our host had books on Singapore. So the first book I read there was Singapore, A Very Short History from Temasek to Tomorrow by Aline. So in this video, I'm also gonna tell you some things about Singapore I read in that book. Maybe it's a legend, maybe it's the truth. Singapura, meaning Lion City, got its name when around 1299, Tri Buana, also known as Sang Nila Utama, saw a tiger on Temasek. So Temasek got renamed to Singapura. Okay, I don't get it actually, I just realized that right now. Singapura meaning Lion City. But Sang Nila Utama saw a tiger. So why didn't he call it Tiger City? I don't know what that would be. Maybe it doesn't sound cool. I have no idea. I should look that up. Interesting. So I did Google it about the tiger and lion thing, and what I found is this. According to legend, Sang Nila Utama saw a lion and named the island Singapura, or Lion City. However, historical evidence indicates that lions never lived naturally on the island, and it is more likely he saw a tiger or possibly another animal like a red cat. So Singapura is the Malay and the Sanskrit name. The English name Singapore is much more common. Singapura has 4 official languages: English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. In the 19th century, the Europeans, the Chinese, and especially the Arabs became very successful in Singapore, and Malays got more and more disempowered. Their population also decreased a lot between 1824 to 1911. It fell from 60.2% to 13.8%. The Malays. Crazy! Chinese and Indian population grew, especially the Chinese, from 31% to 72.4%. Crazy. By mid-19th century, Singapura was run by Europeans and mostly populated by the Chinese. India sent convicts to Singapura to do hard labor, building bridges, roads, and such. Kallang Airport, built at a cost of $9 million, was Singapura's first civil international airport. The first aircraft landed there in 1935, but it officially opened on June 12, 1937. Amelia Earhart stopped there on June 20th, 1937, so it opened on the 12th, and she stopped there on the 20th, so really shortly right after it opened. And so Amelia Earhart described the airport as the aviation miracle of the East. The airport closed on August 21st, 1955. In 1941, Singapura was one of the British Empire's leading cities. In February 1942, Japan took over Singapura. The Lion City got renamed Seonan To, the Light of the South. And they changed the local time to Japanese time, 1 hour later. On September 5th, 1945, after Japan lost World War II and surrendered, the British took over Singapura again. The Singaporean flag, the Singapore state crest, and the national anthem, Majulah Singapura, Onward Singapore, got introduced in December 1959. The lion and the tiger in the crest are important symbols. The lion represents Singapore. The tiger represents close ties between Singapore and the Federation of Malaya. So now here we have the tiger, not just a lion anymore. The Singaporean flag got created from the Chinese, Indonesian, and Malay flag. The crescent used to symbolize Islam, but now it symbolizes a young development country. The 5 stars used to symbolize the 5 pillars of Islam, but now they stand for the 5 principles of Singapura: democracy, security, progress, justice, and equality. The flag was first completely red with the crescent and the stars, but it was considered being too communist, so the white was added also for Indonesia and Malaysia. Now, the red symbolizes universal brotherhood and equality, and the white, purity and virtue. September 16th, 1963, Malaya, Singapore, North Borneo, and Sarawak were merged and Malaysia got formed. August 9th, 1965, Singapore separated from Malaysia and became independent. So I didn't know that. So for a while, so Singapore was British and then Japanese. Well, the Japanese took it over and then it belonged to Malaysia. And now finally, 1965, August 9th, independent. On August 24th, 1966, Singapore's students recited for the first time the national pledge. It was drafted in English and translated into Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. The national pledge. We, the citizens of Singapore, pledge ourselves as one united people, regardless of race, language, and religion, to build a democratic society based on justice and equality, so as to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation. So I understand Singapore accepts like everyone, wants to accept like everyone. Everyone is welcome. Lee Kuan Yew was the first Prime Minister of Singapore from 1959 to 1990, and he was widely recognized as the founding father of the modern Singapore state. Between 2004 and 2015, I'm going to quote this, an assemblage of hedge funds, private equity firms, private banks, and insurers that gathered Singapore, which unabashedly aimed to be the Switzerland of the East. I didn't know that is called the Switzerland of the East and also the Switzerland of Asia. So I thought, oh, that's interesting, and I made a video about similarities and differences between Singapore and Switzerland. Here is that video. So that's how I got this idea to make that video. Like Malaysia, Singapore is very multicultural. Somehow in Malaysia, how should I say this? It kind of bothered me. I wanted to experience the Malay culture, typical Malay. What is typical Malay? And I didn't really know. It was so hard to figure out because it was so multicultural. But in Singapore, the multicultural thing didn't bother me at all. Probably because, well, how should I explain this? Well, I guess Singapore doesn't really have its own culture. Well, yeah, Malays are recognized as the indigenous people of Singapore, but then that would be the Malaysian culture, that would be Malay. And there are not many Malays left in Singapore, as I told you earlier. Most of the people there are Chinese, and that's the Chinese culture. And then, yeah, there are Indians and others, but so there is, in my mind, I think there is no Singaporean culture. So like, yeah, all those together mixed up, maybe that makes the Singaporean culture. So yeah, that's why the multicultural thing in Singapore didn't bother me at all. In Malaysia, I like it to be Malay. In Singapore, I like it to be Singaporean. But as mentioned, that doesn't really exist. So I'm totally fine it being multicultural. As mentioned already earlier, Singapore has 4 official languages: English, Malay, Mandarin, and Tamil. Primarily, all schools in Singapore are taught in English, but students also have to learn a mother tongue. So they have to learn English, that's what is taught at school, but then they also will learn either Malay or Mandarin or Tamil. So yeah, you get around very well in Singapore with English. So yeah, you get around with English very well, but at hawker markets with older people, some of them only speak Chinese still, and some just a little bit broken English. So there it's still a bit difficult, but with hands and feet and somehow it always works. There are no Airbnbs in Singapore. It's not illegal, but it has such strict rules. You can only rent something for a minimum of 3 or 6 months. They have emphasized the importance of maintaining the residential character of neighborhoods and ensuring the safety and well-being of residents. All housing in Singapore is government controlled. So there are 3 basic types of housing. The majority of the people live in HDBs, Housing Development Board. They only sell leases for 99 years. The cost of the lease depends on your income. While we were there, lots of construction was going on everywhere. Probably it's still going on. Lots of buildings are getting built. So many fighter jets fly above Singapore. Not every day, but quite a lot. It's their Air Force that is training. At least once a week, I would say, probably more. If I wasn't filming at that time, I didn't mind it at all. I even thought it was cool. And fighter jets, they don't fly really high, so you could see them very well. I can hear it. Where are you?
Oh, here, almost lost it. Where are you? Here. Yeah, let's see that.
Paul and I went to Chinatown and another day to the Chinese and Japanese gardens. Here is that video about both of these trips. Singapore has a great public transportation system, so much cheaper than Grab. So for example, we paid 12 Singaporean dollars, that's $9 42 cents, to get to a place. Then we went to the exact same place again with the bus. Yes, of course, we had to walk to the bus station and from the bus station to the actual destination for like 10 minutes and 6 minutes, but yeah. But for that bus ride, we paid $1 Singaporean dollar 90, $1 49 cents each. So about $3. So instead of $9.42 with the Grab, we paid $3. And we paid cash. So with that MRT card that we didn't have at that time, I'm pretty sure it would have been even cheaper. Yeah, later we did get those MRT cards for both of us, so one each, you can share them. You have to scan it when you get into the bus or the metro or the train, and then you also have to scan it when you get out. So it charges you exactly for the time you were in that vehicle. Otherwise, it would charge you for the entire bus ride. So I think that's a pretty good system. In Singapore, there is a lottery for owning cars. Yes, Singapore is very small, so not everyone is allowed to have a car. So you pay a registration fee and you're in line. Then you need to find a parking space. Then you need to get to an authorized dealer and sign a contract to buy a car and put the deposit down. Then when you are selected, they'll ask you about the car you're getting. Then you gotta pay a tax, what is usually 4 to 5 times more than the value of the car. Owning a car in Singapore is fucking expensive. So, for example, a Toyota that will cost $40,000 in the United States will cost $210,000 in Singapore. It's insane. So I feel like basically whoever you see driving a car in Singapore must be really rich. But so there is Grab in Singapore, as I mentioned. So I was just asking myself, if only really rich people can own a car, why do they do Grab? Or who is doing Grab? But maybe businesses. I think Paul told me also there are businesses that own cars. So because if I would be super rich, I don't think I would do Grab. And I think most people wouldn't do that. I don't know. I never asked one of the Grab drivers. I didn't feel comfortable asking that. But it was just something that was going through my mind. But yeah, Paul said something about businesses owning cars and then maybe the employees get a car, or I don't know. Supplements are very expensive in Singapore and they don't have a lot of the ones we need. For example, liposomal, vitamin C, NAC, and just plain ascorbic acid. We couldn't find that. For DHEA, you need a prescription, and like in Malaysia, they only sell 1,000 units of vitamin D. We need 5,000 units. Well, the highest they sell is 1,000. I think they also sell 800 or 500 units, but we take usually 5,000 units. We did buy some of the vitamin D for Paul, yes, but then we figured out it's much easier to order from Amazon. Much cheaper and much easier, and it works greatly in Singapore. So like in Malaysia, we couldn't find anywhere distilled water to mix our methylene blue and to reduce our 6% hydrogen peroxide. Paul bought reverse osmosis water, and that worked almost as well. I mentioned it already here in this video, Trusted House Sitters in Singapore, the animals, and I have to mention it again here in that video. So super cool, our hosts gave us postcards. So for once, I didn't have to look everywhere for postcards. So super nice. But actually, it wasn't hard at all to find postcards in Singapore, like in Chinatown or other places. Alex, our host, also said we could also use their stamps, but I really didn't want to do that. So I sent Paul to the post office. I was expecting it to be expensive to send the cards from Singapore because it's Singapore. In some countries, we paid more than $1 to send just one postcard, so that's fucking expensive. But in Singapore, you pay only 85 Singaporean cents to send a card internationally. So that's 67 US cents. So super cheap, yeah. Well, and not like other countries, Singapore has a very good post system. Yeah, not like other countries. There was no sewer smell when you were walking outside in Singapore, and also not in the bathrooms, in any bathroom I was in. I love to say that's like in Switzerland, but when we were in Switzerland, we stayed in an apartment in Lies, and the bathroom smelled like sewer, even if you didn't take a shit, it smelled. So actually, that was the first time I saw that, I smelled that in Switzerland. I made it a habit to check every country for tampons with applicator. And like every other country in Southeast Asia so far, Singapore is also all about those pads. I have to admit, I didn't look in many places, but where I looked, I couldn't find any tampons, only pads. I hope as long as we are staying in that region of the world, I won't run out of the tampons I have with me from Switzerland. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay clean.